Hello, my name is Kristina, and today I'm going to talk about Russian language. The name of my report is Once Upon a Time in Russian Language, or How to Get Lost in Translation. I would like to tell you about the most difficult things in Russian language that Russian native speakers wouldn't pay attention to, but some of these things can shock foreigners that study Russian. My report is not only entertaining, but also useful for people who are learning Russian language. One of the first things that scares foreigners in Russian language is alphabet. The most unlikable letters are y, sh, ye, yo, and z. Pronouncing the letter is the biggest challenge for many students of Russia, and that really surprised me. One English-speaking student described the struggle with the letter in an online discussion. She says, "My Russian friend suggested saying the word table and isolating the sound between the B and the L, but it just isn't working for me." Also, sometimes letters in Russian are pronounced differently than they are written. For example, we have a word хорошо, good, but we pronounce it as if it were writing хорошо. Some of the language's letters and sounds exist only in Russian. Once a student managed to pronounce Russian letters, there are more challenges waiting for him. Okay, so we all know the author of Alice in Wonderland, Lewis Carroll, and he had his own trip in Russia, and he was really surprised by Russian language and Russian culture. And during the tour, Carroll took pleasure in collecting the trickiest Russian words. One of these words was защищающихся. Защищающихся. Look at this transcription. It's like crazy. It's really big. And защищающихся means a word for people who protect themselves. Okay, so the next step is Russian cursive. And some words written in Russian italics become completely incomprehensible even for Russians. Okay, Russian stresses are unpredictable, and that's true. Foreign students also have difficulty understanding where to put the stress in Russian words. The stresses can fall on any syllable in any word, and do so in a seemingly arbitrary manner, unlike in languages such as French, in which pronunciation follows a clear pattern. In some cases, the stress can also change depending on the word's form. It is virtually impossible to understand why we say stол, столы, tables, but telephone, телефоны. Of course, there are some rules, but more exceptions. Okay, so let's assume a foreign student has mastered the rules of Russian phonetics and learned to pronounce words correctly. The next challenge is grammar. Russian cases are particularly difficult for students whose native languages don't have cases, or in whose languages cases do not affect the structure of words. As one Japan student said, "I simply couldn't believe that using a particular case means you have to change the words. It's crazy." And then there were the conjugations of verbs. Every time you wanted to say a phrase, you have to stop and think how to change every word, which form to use. And that's true. One part of Russian grammar that is particularly difficult for foreign students to understand is how to use perfective and imperfective verbs. One student shared his experience. I remember reading the illustrated textbook over and over again, trying to understand the difference between пришел, arrived, and приходил, used to come. What was the meaning of this? Where was that guy? Had he left or had he stayed? It was terrible. Verbs of motion are a challenge in their own right because there are so many of them in Russian language. Okay, let's give an example. The simple Italian verb andare, to go, has many Russian equivalents. Ходить, to go somewhere and back by foot. Идти, to go by foot but one way. Пойти, to set off by foot. Ехать, to go one way in some sort of vehicle, and etc. The verb кататься means to use a vehicle for recreation rather than for transportation, and to be honest, that's my favorite word. To make foreign students' lives even more difficult, various prefixes can be added to all these verbs, and it can change the whole meaning in the process. Okay, the next step is expression of double affirmation using negative forms. And this is maybe one of the most difficult things to understand. And I'm talking about the Russian expression «да нет, наверное». And Russians really like to use this expression. We can literally translate it by words. Yes, no, probably. But it makes no sense. And this phrase is usually expressing the affirmation, but it depends on situation. And what I wanted to say is that you maybe think that Russian is so scary that you shouldn't study it, but in some ways Russian is even easier to learn than other languages, and you should totally study Russian because there are some reasons. Firstly, there are no articles. Secondly, there are only three tenses, like past, present and future. Also in Russian, almost all the terrible grammar ends at level A2. Once you have reached the point, you get the freedom of usage and you can fully enjoy the great and beautiful Russian language. And I believe in you, you can do it, you can learn Russian language, and